It's interesting how, whenever you look at those business success stories, or you look at the next idea, or you look at the things that have been, most successful in wherever I've been, it always, I can't remember where the quote from, but it comes like, be first, be better, or cheat. Now, most of us aren't going to cheat. And first only lasts for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you keep being better, or how do you keep being first? What makes you different? What makes you, it comes back to that concept of why. Why, if you decide that you want to be the disruptive influence in the industry, or you want to be known as, the best for whatever reason, the safest, the fastest, the most cost effective, whatever it happens to be. How do you keep maintaining those ideas and keep maintaining that position? How do you recognize what about you is different? How do you determine that from the data you have available? Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about data analytics when I first walked in, but what data is telling you that you're different, or what data is telling you that you aren't different, and therefore you have to change? I mean, how do you drive change into what you do so that you can maintain your brand, or your mindset, or your focus, or your vision, or whatever it happens to be? And it's often fascinating. How do you, what do you know? Now, maybe it's not written down in front of you, but what do you know about your business and your attitude and your approach that makes you different, that makes you better, that makes you smarter, that makes you first? And that's always a challenge in anything that you're doing. How do you just get that little bit better? What's that continuous improvement focus that you might have? I am forever fascinated by the challenge of not just collecting data, or should I say analyzing, or even manipulating the data, but trying to find a way to present it in what I'd call a 30-second look. And the board is a great example of that 30-second look, because whenever you want to present something that drives a behavioral change or a behavioral continuation, how do you take reams and reams of data, huge amounts of knowledge, years of investment and time and numbers and everything else, and distill it down to the most important pieces of that information, so that somebody can look at a chart in 30 seconds and you can drive a behavior off that. They can understand the story in 30 seconds in general terms, and they might need a bit more detail. But in that 30-second look, they can go, all right, I know the story you're telling. I know generally what it's telling me. And now I accept and understand your vision. I buy into that, and we're going to move forward on that basis. And whether that's leading up, leading down, or leading amongst your peers, or leading for the people who work for you, it doesn't necessarily matter. I guess it's influence is another way of, how do you influence change in order to maintain what you're looking for? So again, it sort of comes back to geeking out over data. What's the data really telling you? What are you not collecting, or what are you collecting that might be telling you that slightly different story, or giving you that slightly different idea that makes you first, or that makes you better, or tells you the easiest way to cheat? I don't know.
I think the...
But your whiteboard here is just a fascinating 30-second look into the mind of Galen. I mean... It truly is, because it distills down so quickly all of the things that are important to you over the next 12 months, and the ideas that you have, and the focuses that you have. And I think it'd be very easy for one of your agents, for example, to stand in front of it and say, all right, I understand where you're going. I understand why he's asking me to do this, or why I'm practicing this, or why we're changing this on a week-to-week basis, or something like that. I mean, to me, that's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I have up there, which you kind of mentioned about, I think you talked about working more efficient, but like the work smarter, work harder, work smarter kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I have one thing up there, which a lot of this stuff too has been things that I could erase, but a lot of it's just like mindset things where I look up and I'm like, okay, just make sure, just kind of, I want to keep it as a principle kind of that I relate back to. So one of the ones is effort is controllable. And that's pretty much the only thing we have that we can do is your effort. Obviously attitude, it's one, but I'd say effort and attitude is what's your mindset? Are you positive? Are you, kind of relentless with sticking with stuff? And then do you have the effort? So like to me, at least in my business, there's a ton of rejection. There's a ton of, I get told no way more than I'm ever going to get told yes in my business.
Sure.
Bad's going to happen way more than good's going to happen. What's my attitude? How am I going to react to that? And then also, what am I going to do? What's the effort that I'm going to put forward to basically, get better and improve? And that's the controllable aspect of it. So if I look at it where, I could dwell on a bad situation, or I could maybe take like we talked about, one day off, or I could take a half a day off, or I could, and that's what it comes down to is my effort, where it's like, what do I want to do more? Do I want to at night sit down and watch movies on Netflix, or do I want to sit there and learn? I choose to learn. I choose to, that's just my hobby, but it's my hobby. I don't know why, but like you talked about beginning of the podcast, constant improvement, trying and like your life's one big, we're one big kind of stone that we're just polishing and trying to get better throughout life. And what I always look at is your effort is controllable, meaning whatever I put in, whatever I want out of life, whether it be a passion around something, or, if I was in a job that I hated, well, what's your effort? Your effort could be, I'm going to study late at night to get into a career or a trade or learn a skill, or to get out of that position. It might take you 5 years, but you can do it, and that's one thing I'm always, I kind of look at people, I'm like, it might, like today might not be good, tomorrow might not be good, but it's like, just set your long-term goal and chip away at it. So for me, now obviously I'm not looking at this stuff as bad, but I'm like, but I can control that, and that's the one thing I think, effort and attitude. I'm sure that's been said a million times, but I do have it up there, effort. So when I'm thinking like, why didn't this go my way? Why didn't it go, why didn't this happen? Why did that bad thing happen? One, stay positive, because there's days that I'm like, I feel like, or even a week where I feel like I'm in a rut. Then there's weeks where I'm like, everything I touch is like ding, 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 ding. But I got to be realistic that it's all going to be a good balance out. But
sure.
But it's always my attitude and how I can control the effort going forward or make things
absolutely,
better.
And how much starts with that. So you're right. Effort is controllable. Attitude is controllable. If you approach even bad days with a positive attitude, what am I learning from this? What are we going to do that's better and different and more fun? Or how is it going to improve down the track? I mean, I don't think you can underestimate how much that positive attitude shows.
Huge, yeah.
And bleeds off into everybody around you.
Well, I think you talked about the culture and how to get, like, if I find that if I have the positive attitude, that hopefully that will attract other positive people.
Definitely.
And the same attitude. And that's what I always look at our company as a team. Like,
sure.
I don't want to, like, take like a fantasy team, like, or you always want to get the best players. Like my best players or teammates will naturally, hopefully, be attracted to the culture of the company, not like an individual thing or not this and that, but they're gonna, at the overall, what's the big focus culture of the company. I'm hoping, and I've kind of started to see that over the last year, that I've attracted just better people in my life through just naturally, I think, by being positive and just letting it naturally occur. It's just,
as we said before, it's compelling, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That kind of attitude and approach and environment is compelling. I stayed with Platco for 4.5 years, and it was time to take the next step, and I got offered an incredible role at Norsk Titanium. But again, I mean, I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate to be working with the group of people that we have there at the moment. My boss, Annette, spent 28 years with Pratt & Whitney. Tamara Moriako, who is the COO, and my next level boss is out of Baker Hughes and the oil and gas industry. And again, they bring this incredible perspective. But one of the things I find most amazing about my direct boss, Annette, is she has almost no ego tied to certain ideas. So she's so willing to explore new concepts and take new steps.
That's important.
And just release you on the with enough rope to run away and really test an idea. And it does. It opens up those ideas to be able to say, all right, well, I can run with this. I can try it out. And maybe it fails completely and I fall on my face or something like that. But, she's going to, laugh, call me a fool and find the next idea. And finding bosses who are so, such incredible leaders that they maintain that humbleness about them and they let smart people off the leash. I am by no means the smartest person in the room. And like I said, I work with an incredibly gifted group of people. So it's one of the lessons I try and learn every day because I suck at it. I mean, I love my own ideas and often I tie my ego a little too much into them. But being able to watch some of these leaders that we have at our company and the way they approach those kinds of ideas, it's such an education. And I only hope that, when I reach that level, if I do get the opportunity at that sort of heights, that I can offer the same kind of opportunities to the people that work for me that I've had, from that run of bosses that I've had. You know, that opportunity every day to go in and explore new ideas and new possibilities.
Yeah.
And as I said, that's what keeps me coming into work. If I didn't have that opportunity, I'd probably be looking somewhere else. So,
well, I think it's always the next. It's always how you can improve. It's always how you can get better. And I think that's the same thing. Of like I show up and I, the reason is I've kind of tasted the whole like the success that I'm hopefully building. I'm getting like small bits and pieces, and like I said, little tastes of, wow, I've been doing this for 9 years, and I'm like, okay, now things are starting to, like, I call it the snowball effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, I think that's actually isn't that a Warren Buffett book also? I think I saw that the other day.
Potentially, but I'm gonna display my ignorance.
But it has
here.
nothing. I have no clue. I've never read that book. I actually have it, but I haven't read it. But the idea that just like our efforts now is going to build a little snowball, and then they're just compounding as we roll the snowball, you know, farther and farther. But I'm seeing small glimpses of that, which keeps me coming back, keeps me hungrier, keeps me like, okay, like I'm fine tuning, because if I've gotten to this point from where I screwed up, we talked about with Ellie before, the first couple of years, now it's like things are better, and then in my head I'm like, well, how much better could it be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Like, by just doing the same things, naturally it's going to evolve.
But sometimes
it might not get better.
But sometimes you go back and you explore those past ideas, and you think about, do I know more about why I screwed up?
Yes.
You know, am I different now, and could I follow that same path and 100%. Do better this time, because I'm not going to make that same screw up, or at least I understand why I screwed up and I can avoid it.
Or things I do now that I kick myself for not doing them 5 years earlier. And simple things, but it's just ideas where I'm like, but again, I probably needed the 5 years to get, because if I would have done them 5 years ago, maybe it would have been different. Maybe I would be a different person. Maybe I would have acted a different way, but I probably needed that to get that perspective that I've been able to build off of.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think sometimes you walk around with that crippling social anxiety, you know, that did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? You know, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And you're probably the only one in the room who recognizes that. But at the same time, all of those things feed into who you are now, I suppose. Yeah. And you're right, you might not have known that 5 years ago, and you might have screwed up that way 5 years ago, and you would do it better now, but only because you screwed up 5 years ago. So I think it's always fascinating to sometimes revisit those ideas and think, you know, what could I do a little bit better this time, or how could I improve it?
But I think there's the times too where I might say or do something that I'm like, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that, said that, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like I've gotten to places better because I've just been myself. Where I find when I first got in the business, I was very much coming in at a young age, and again we talked about that paradigm shift of being like a kid to now peer. Yeah. Meaning I always felt like the people I was dealing with were adults, and I was still a kid. And why would they listen to me? And I got to act, I got to act more reserved because I don't want to act myself because they're adults and they're gonna think I'm a kid and blah blah blah. So I really kind of like kept myself in a box for probably the first 4 years. And then I was like, you know what? Kind of about that age, 24, 25, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm just going to be myself. And I kind of, the give a shit factor has slowly dropped, kind of like in the sense of like, I do care, but I don't care because I would rather be myself than try to like pretend that I'm a certain way. Sure. And I've found that I've gotten better, and I made the friends I'd rather make at this point in my life than maybe people that don't know me for who I am. So I think if anybody meets me now, whether it's business or outside of work or whatever, it's one and the same. Like, I'm not a different guy going grocery shopping or going to the gym or going to see a house as I would be any other way.
I honestly wish I had that kind of self-confidence. I'm not sure I do.
I don't know if it's self-confidence or just total oblivious, like naivety.
I sometimes think it'd be nice to have that better angel sitting on my shoulder telling me I was doing okay and I hadn't actually screwed something up. But life's like that sometimes. And I'm not necessarily sure I've managed to push my give a shit factor down to that point where I can be so confident in that kind of situation. I'm sure I'd probably suck at your job if I was trying to do that, but
vice versa. Yeah.
so it's kind of one of those, I don't know, I guess, you're always trying to take steps forward and hope they're all in the right direction.